In the last episode, the Puppeteer's influence began to crumble as Alex and his team made a bold move to dismantle the enemy's stronghold, while Elara's mysterious past and Kale's relentless pursuit threatened to upend their fragile alliances. As I emerged from the dimly lit alleyway, the chill of the Aethereian night air slapped me awake, snapping me back to reality. My heart still racing from the cryptic message, I couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. My team gathered around me, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of the luminous stones embedded in the walls. Lyrien's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and trepidation as he examined the schematics of the Aethereian Enclave. Elara stood tall, her gaze fixed on some point beyond the horizon, her thoughts a mystery. "We have to get into the Enclave," Lyrien said, his voice low and urgent. "The Puppeteers got a stranglehold on Aethereia's infrastructure. If we can disable their mainframe, we might just stand a chance against him." I nodded, my mind already racing with the risks. The Enclave's security was notoriously impenetrable. We'd need to be precise, calculated. Elara's voice cut through my thoughts. "I've got a contact on the inside, someone who might be willing to help us." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. I turned to her, searching for answers. "Who is it?" I asked, my tone even. Elara hesitated, her eyes darting around the group before settling on mine. "It's someone from my past. Someone I thought I'd lost forever." The air seemed to thicken, anticipation hanging over us like a challenge. "What makes you think they'll help us?" Lyrien asked, his brow furrowed. Elara's expression turned grim. "Because they have a stake in taking down the Puppeteer, too." The silence that followed was oppressive, each of us lost in our own thoughts. I knew that once we stepped into the Enclave, there was no turning back. "Let's gear up," I said finally, my voice firm. "We've got an Enclave to infiltrate." The team nodded, a quiet resolve settling over us. Together, we set off into the darkness, the weight of our mission settling heavy on our shoulders. The Aethereian Enclave loomed before us, its towering spires piercing the night sky like shards of glass. My heart pounded in my chest as we approached the main entrance. This was it. The moment of truth. I could feel the city's pulse, the hum of its ancient magic thrumming through my veins. Aethereia's very heartbeat seemed to be urging us onward. We moved as one, a fluid unit, as we slipped into the shadows, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The darkness swallowed us whole, and I knew that our fate hung in the balance. The chill of the night seemed to seep into my bones as I steeled myself for what was to come. My team trusted me to lead them through this. I took a deep breath. We moved. Previously, Elara's mysterious past had come back to haunt her in the form of a potentially valuable ally, while the Puppeteer's stranglehold on Aethereia's infrastructure remained unbroken. The team stood at the threshold of the Aethereian Enclave, its imposing structure a testament to the formidable security that lay ahead. With Elara's contact on the inside, the stakes had just gotten a lot higher. As we slipped into the darkness, the city's pulse seemed to quicken, as if Aethereia itself was urging us onward. I led my team through the winding alleys, our footsteps echoing off the cold stone walls. The luminous stones cast flickering shadows on the ground, making it seem as though the city itself was watching us. Elara's words about her contact still lingered in my mind. Someone from her past, someone she thought shed lost forever. I couldn't help but wonder who this person was and what their stake was in taking down the Puppeteer. We finally reached the main entrance of the Enclave, a grandiose structure that seemed to radiate an aura of power. The doors were guarded by two imposing figures, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly energy. Lyrien's voice was barely audible as he whispered, "Those are Kieranay guards." "They're not just any guards, they're augmented with dark magic." I nodded, my mind racing with possibilities. We couldn't take them down in a straight fight, we'd need to be clever. Elara stepped forward, a determined look on her face. "It'll take care of the guards. My contact should be able to create a diversion." With a swift motion, Elara pulled out a small device from her pocket and activated it. A high-pitched whine filled the air, and the guards' eyes flickered, their attention wavering. The moment was short-lived, but it was enough. Lyrien quickly worked his magic, bypassing the guards' augmented senses. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, inviting us into the heart of the Enclave. As we stepped inside, the opulence of the Enclave's interior took my breath away. Crystal chandeliers refracted light into a kaleidoscope of colors, casting a mesmerizing glow over the lavish furnishings. But I knew we couldn't be swayed by the grandeur. We had a mission to complete. Our destination was the central server room, where the Puppeteer's grip on Aethereia's infrastructure was strongest. Lyrien's eyes gleamed as he consulted the schematics, his fingers flying across the device in his hand. "We need to move fast," he whispered. "The Puppeteers got redundant systems in place. If we don't disable the mainframe within the next 20 minutes, Hell have alerted the entire Enclave to our presence." The weight of our task settled heavy on my shoulders. I knew that the next few minutes would decide the fate of Aethereia. As we navigated the Enclave's corridors, the air grew thick with tension. We encountered a few stray guards, but Lyrien's quick thinking and Elara's combat skills allowed us to dispatch them without raising the alarm. The server room loomed ahead, its reinforced doors a testament to the importance of what lay within. I steeled myself, my heart pounding in anticipation. It was time to face whatever lay ahead. The doors slid open, revealing a room filled with rows of humming servers. Lyrien's eyes lit up as he set to work, his fingers flying across the consoles. But as he worked, a figure emerged from the shadows. A woman with piercing green eyes and raven-black hair stepped forward, a hint of a smile on her lips. "Welcome, Elara," she said, her voice husky. "It's been a long time." Elara's expression was a mixture of surprise and wariness. "Arachne," she whispered. The woman's smile grew wider. "I see you're still as cautious as ever, dear. But I assure you, my intentions have changed. I've come to help." The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening with tension. I knew that this moment, this revelation, would change everything. Arachne's eyes locked onto mine, a spark of curiosity igniting within them. "And you, Alex, are the key to it all. The Puppeteer's downfall, Aethereia's rebirth, it all hinges on you." The weight of her words settled heavy on my shoulders. I knew that I had a choice to make, one that would determine the course of our mission and the fate of Aethereia. Do I trust Arachne, or do I forge my own path? The clock was ticking, and I knew that time was running out. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. "Let's hear her out," I said finally, my voice firm. Arachne's smile grew wider, and she nodded in approval. "Excellent. I have information that will help you disable the mainframe. But first, we need to get out of here. Alive!" As she spoke, the sound of alarms began to echo through the corridors, growing louder by the second. It seemed the Puppeteer's patience had worn thin. The Enclave's security forces were closing in, and we had mere minutes to escape. But I knew that this was just the beginning. A new challenge had emerged, one that would test our resolve, our trust, and our very survival. The darkness outside seemed to press in, a reminder that our journey was far from over. Aethereia's rebirth hung in the balance, and I was determined to see it through. The team rallied around me, their faces set with determination. Together, we charged forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The alarms grew louder, the lights flickering as the Enclave's defenses went into overdrive. But I knew that we had a chance, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. With Arachne's guidance, we might just make it out alive. The thought sent a surge of adrenaline through my veins. We moved as one, a fluid unit, our footsteps echoing through the corridors. The Enclave's security forces closed in, but we were ready. The fate of Aethereia hung in the balance, and I was determined to see it through. With every step, I felt a sense of growth, of hope. We were in this together, and together we would triumph. The darkness seemed to recede, replaced by a sense of purpose. We were the spark that would ignite Aethereia's rebirth, and nothing would stop us. The corridors blurred together as we ran, the alarms growing louder. But I knew that we had each other, and we had a chance to change the course of history. The thought sent a surge of determination through my veins. We would make it out alive. We would triumph. The Enclave's security forces were closing in, but we were ready. The moment of truth had arrived, and I was ready to face it head-on. Previously, Elara's mysterious past had come back to haunt her in the form of a potentially valuable ally, Arachne, while the Puppeteer's stranglehold on Aethereia's infrastructure remained unbroken. The team stood at the threshold of the Aethereian Enclave, with Arachne's intentions and loyalties hanging precariously in the balance. As the Enclave's security forces closed in, Arachne's offer of help seemed like the only way to disable the mainframe and escape alive. The alarms blared louder, and the lights flickered ominously as we followed Arachne through the winding corridors. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of the Puppeteer's presence bearing down on us. Arachne moved with a confident air, her raven-black hair fluttering behind her as she navigated the maze-like corridors. "We need to move fast," she said, her voice husky and urgent. "The Puppeteer's security forces will be on us in seconds." Lyrien's eyes darted between the schematics on his device and the rapidly changing environment around us. "Where are we headed?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. Arachne's smile grew wider. "I have access to a hidden route that will take us to the central control room. From there, we can broadcast a signal to disable the Puppeteers hold on Aethereia's infrastructure." Elara's eyes narrowed. "And what's in it for you, Arachne?" Arachne's expression turned somber, and for a moment I glimpsed a hint of pain in her eyes. "I've had a change of heart, Elara. I realize now that the Puppeteer's vision for Aethereia is not what I thought it was. I want to help you bring him down." I studied Arachne's face, searching for any sign of deception. But all I saw was a genuine desire to help. I nodded, my mind made up. "All right, let's move." The corridors blurred together as we ran, the alarms growing louder. Arachne led us through a series of narrow tunnels and hidden passages, her knowledge of the Enclave's inner workings proving invaluable. We finally emerged into a large, dimly lit chamber, the central control room. Rows of consoles and monitoring stations lined the walls, casting a maze of shadows across the floor. Arachne moved swiftly, her fingers flying across the controls as she worked to disable the Puppeteer's defenses. Lyrien joined her, his own magic infusing the systems as he worked to bypass the security firewalls. Elara stood guard, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of danger. As I watched, a sense of pride and hope swelled within me. We were doing it. We were actually going to pull this off. The thought sent a surge of adrenaline through my veins. But just as Arachne was about to initiate the broadcast, a figure emerged from the shadows. A tall, imposing man with eyes that burned with an inner fire stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. "Ah, Arachne," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I see you've decided to join the rebels." Arachne's expression turned icy. "Kale," she spat, her voice venomous, "I should have known you'd be involved." The air seemed to vibrate with tension as Kale's eyes locked onto mine. I could feel the weight of his gaze, the challenge implicit in his stare. "You think you can defeat the Puppeteer, Alex?" Kale sneered. "You think you're strong enough?" I stood tall, my heart pounding in my chest. "I don't just think I can defeat him," I said, my voice firm. "I will." Kale's smile was like a crack in the ice. "Well, see about that." The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening with tension. I knew that this moment, this confrontation, would decide the course of our mission and the fate of Aethereia. But I was ready. With Arachne, Lyrien, and Elara by my side, I knew that we could face whatever lay ahead. The clock was ticking, and I knew that time was running out. But I also knew that we had a chance, a glimmer of hope in the darkness, and with that hope we charged forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As we moved, the darkness seemed to recede, replaced by a sense of purpose. We were the spark that would ignite Aethereia's rebirth, and nothing would stop us. The central control room erupted into chaos as KL launched a magical assault, his powers clashing with Arachne's. The room was filled with the sound of crackling energy and the smell of ozone. Lyrien and Elara joined the fray, their own magic and combat skills on full display. I charged forward, my heart pounding in my chest. The battle was intense, the outcome hanging precariously in the balance. But I knew that we had this, we had each other, and we had a chance to change the course of history. The thought sent a surge of determination through my veins. We would make it out alive, we would triumph. As the fight raged on, I caught glimpses of Arachne's skills, her magic weaving a complex pattern of defense and counterattack. Lyrien's eyes gleamed with a fierce light, his powers surging forward to meet Kale's assault. Elara's combat skills were a blur of motion, her movements swift and deadly. I fought alongside her, our actions a fluid dance of sword and magic. The room was a whirlwind of sound and motion, the outcome hanging precariously in the balance. But I knew that we had this. We were a team, and together we would triumph. The battle reached its climax, Kale's powers surging forward in a final, desperate bid to defeat us. But we were ready. Arachne's magic surged forward, meeting Kale's assault with a blast of energy that sent him stumbling back. Lyrien and Elara took advantage of the opening, their own magic and combat skills combining to overwhelm Kale. The outcome was clear. We had won. The Puppeteers hold on. Aethereia's infrastructure began to falter, his grip weakening as the broadcast signal went live. The Enclave's systems began to shut down, the darkness receding as the city's pulse slowed. A sense of hope swelled within me, a sense of pride and accomplishment. We had done it. We had taken the first step towards Aethereia's rebirth, but as we stood victorious, I knew that this was just the beginning. A new challenge had emerged, one that would test our resolve, our trust, and our very survival. The Puppeteer's downfall was far from certain, and I knew that we would have to face whatever lay ahead together. The darkness outside seemed to press in, a reminder that our journey was far from over. But I was ready. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, with my team by my side, and together we would triumph. Previously, Arachne's true intentions had been revealed as she helped the team infiltrate the Aethereian Enclave, but Kale's sudden appearance had thrown a wrench into their plans, sparking a magical battle that threatened to derail their mission. The team had fought valiantly, and in the end, they had emerged victorious, disabling the Puppeteers' hold on Aethereia's infrastructure. But as the Enclave system shut down, a new challenge loomed on the horizon, one that would test their resolve and trust. As the dust settled, I surveyed the aftermath of the battle. Kale lay defeated, his magical energies bound by a complex spell that Arachne had woven. The room was quiet, the only sound, the hum of the Enclave systems as they slowly went dark. Arachne turned to me, her eyes searching. "The broadcast signal is live," she said, her voice husky. "The Puppeteers hold on. Aethereia's infrastructure is weakening, but we need to get out of here, now. The Puppeteer security forces will be on us in minutes." Lyrien nodded, his eyes still fixed on the console he had used to bypass the security firewalls. "I've managed to disable the mainframe's primary defenses," he said, "but we need to be careful. The Puppeteer has likely set up secondary systems, fail-safes, to ensure his control over Aethereia." Elara moved to Kale's side, her eyes cold. "What do we do with him?" she asked, her voice detached. Arachne's expression turned calculating. "We leave him for now. We can't afford to waste time." "The Puppeteer's response will be swift and deadly. We need to get to a safe location and regroup." I nodded, my mind racing. We had achieved our goal, but this was far from over. The puppeteer would not take kindly to our interference. I glanced around the room, taking in the scope of what we had accomplished. The Enclave systems were shutting down, and the city's pulse was slowing. Aethereia was taking its first steps towards rebirth. But as we turned to leave, a figure emerged from the shadows. A young woman, her eyes wide with fear, stumbled into the room. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you have to help me. The puppeteer's agents are everywhere. They're looking for me." Arachne's expression softened, and she moved to the woman's side. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice gentle. "Lena," the woman stammered. "I was a researcher here, working on a top-secret project. I have information that could help you bring down the puppeteer once and for all." I exchanged a look with Elara, my mind racing. This could be the break we needed. "Tell us more," I said, my voice firm. Lena's eyes locked onto mine, and I saw a spark of determination ignite within them. "I can show you the location of the puppeteer's primary stronghold," she said, her voice steady. "But we have to move fast. They'll stop at nothing to keep me silent." The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening with tension. I knew that this moment, this decision, would change the course of our mission and the fate of Aethereia. But I was ready. With Arachne, Lyrien, Elara, and now Lena by my side, I knew that we could face whatever lay ahead. The clock was ticking, and I knew that time was running out. But I also knew that we had a chance, a glimmer of hope in the darkness, and with that hope we charged forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As we moved, the darkness seemed to recede, replaced by a sense of purpose. We were the spark that would ignite Aethereia's rebirth, and nothing would stop us. We followed Lena through the winding corridors, her knowledge of the Enclave's inner workings proving invaluable. We finally emerged into the cool night air, the city's landscape stretching out before us. The darkness seemed to press in, a reminder that our journey was far from over. But I was ready. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, with my team by my side, and together we would triumph. The city was a maze of shadows and danger, but with Lena's information, we had a chance to change the course of history. As we moved through the streets, I caught glimpses of the city's residents, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. They sensed that something was changing, that the tide was turning, and I knew that we were the catalyst for that change. We walked for what felt like hours, our senses on high alert as we navigated the treacherous landscape. Finally, we reached a small, nondescript building on the outskirts of the city. Lena led us inside, her eyes locked onto mine. "This is a safe house," she said, her voice steady. "A place where we can regroup and plan our next move." The room was small, but it was secure. I nodded, my mind racing. We had a chance to catch our breath, to regroup and plan. But I knew that it wouldn't last. The puppeteer's response would be swift and deadly, and we would have to be ready. As we began to plan our next move, I caught a glimpse of Arachne's profile, her eyes fixed on Lena. I saw a glimmer of something there, a spark of recognition. "Arachne?" I asked, my voice low. She turned to me, her expression somber. "Lena is someone I knew from my past," she said, her voice husky. "A researcher who worked on a top-secret project. I didn't think she'd survived." I raised an eyebrow, my mind racing. "What project?" I asked. Arachne's eyes locked onto mine. "Project Elysium," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "A plan to create a new, sustainable source of energy for Aethereia." I felt a spark of hope ignite within me. This could be the key to Aethereia's rebirth, and I knew that we would do whatever it took to make it happen. As we began to plan our next move, I knew that the stakes had never been higher. But I also knew that we had a chance, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. And with that hope, we charged forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The journey was far from over, but I was ready. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, with my team by my side. And together, we would triumph. The city's fate hung precariously in the balance as Aethereia teetered on the edge of rebirth. A spark of hope had been lit, and it would only take one more push to ignite the flames of revolution. With renewed determination and a clear goal in sight, we readied ourselves to face the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that together, nothing could stop us. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over, and we were more ready than ever to put everything on the line to see Aethereia reborn. Previously, we had emerged victorious from the magical battle within the Aethereian Enclave, disabling the Puppeteer's hold on Aethereia's infrastructure, but a new challenge loomed on the horizon, testing our resolve and trust. Arachne's past connection to Lena, a young researcher with crucial information, had been revealed, and we had gained a potential ally in the fight against the Puppeteer. But with this newfound advantage came the knowledge that the Puppeteer's response would be swift and deadly. As we caught our breath in the safe house, I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were being watched. The Puppeteer's agents could be anywhere, waiting for their chance to strike. I glanced around the room, taking in the familiar faces of my team. Arachne was busy studying Lena, her eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and concern. Lyrien was hunched over a console, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he worked to unravel the secrets of Project Elysium. Elara stood guard, her eyes fixed on the door, her hand resting on the hilt of her sword. Lena, on the other hand, seemed to be growing more confident by the minute. She was poring over a holographic display, her eyes tracing the intricate network of systems and structures that made up the Puppeteer's stronghold. "I can show you the location of the stronghold," she said, her voice steady, "but we need to be careful. The Puppeteer has set up multiple layers of defense, and his agents are everywhere." I nodded, my mind racing. We had to be careful, but we also had to act fast. The longer we delayed, the more time the Puppeteer had to regroup and counterattack. I turned to Lyrien, my eyes locked onto his. "Can you hack into the Puppeteer systems, get us some intel on his plans?" Lyrien nodded, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "I'm on it," he said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. As he worked, I turned to Arachne, my eyes searching. "What's the story behind Project Elysium?" I asked, my voice low. Arachne's expression turned somber. Project Elysium was a top-secret initiative aimed at creating a new, sustainable source of energy for Aethereia, she said, her voice husky. The Puppeteer hijacked the project, using it to further his own goals. But I think there's more to it than that. I think there's a chance to use the technology to our advantage, to create a new source of power that could help us defeat the Puppeteer once and for all. I felt a spark of hope ignite within me. This could be the key to Aethereia's rebirth. I turned to Lena, my eyes locked onto hers. "Can you tell us more about Project Elysium?" I asked, my voice gentle. Lena nodded, her eyes filling with a mix of sadness and determination. "I was part of the research team," she said, her voice steady. "We were working on a new technology, one that could harness the power of Aethereia's resonance field. But the Puppeteer took control of the project, using it to further his own goals. I think he's planning to use the technology to amplify his powers, to become even more powerful." I exchanged a look with my team, my mind racing. This was it, the moment we had been waiting for. We had a chance to take down the Puppeteer, to bring Aethereia back from the brink. But as we began to plan our next move, a loud explosion rocked the safe house, sending us stumbling. The room shook, and the sound of gunfire echoed through the streets. The Puppeteer's response had begun. We were running out of time. I sprang into action, my heart racing. "We need to get out of here now," I said, my voice firm. "The Puppeteer's agents have found us." The team responded quickly, moving to defend the safe house and protect Lena. But I knew that we couldn't hold out for long. We had to get to the Puppeteer's stronghold, and fast. As we fought our way through the streets, the city seemed to come alive around us. The buildings seemed to loom over us, casting long shadows that stretched and twisted in the flickering light. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel the weight of the Puppeteer's presence bearing down on us. But I refused to back down. I had come too far, and I had sacrificed too much. I was determined to see Aethereia reborn, to bring hope back to a city that had been plunged into darkness. As we moved through the streets, I caught glimpses of the city's residents, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. They sensed that something was changing, that the tide was turning. And I knew that we were the catalyst for that change. We walked for what felt like hours, our senses on high alert as we navigated the treacherous landscape. Finally, we reached the outskirts of the city, the stronghold looming before us. It was a massive structure, its walls towering above us like a monolith. The air seemed to vibrate with power, and I could feel the puppeteer's presence emanating from within. I turned to my team, my eyes locked onto theirs. "This is it," I said, my voice firm. "This is the moment we've been waiting for. Let's do this." The team nodded, their faces set with determination. We knew what was at stake, and we were ready to put everything on the line to see Aethereia reborn. As we approached the stronghold, I felt a sense of pride and purpose wash over me. We had come a long way, and we had overcome so much, but I knew that this was just the beginning. The real challenge lay ahead, and I was ready to face it head-on. With my team by my side, I charged forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The battle for Aethereia's future had begun, and I was determined to emerge victorious. As we breached the stronghold's defenses, a sense of exhilaration washed over me. We were in this now, and we would see it through to the end. The stronghold's interior was a maze of corridors and chambers, its layout shifting and twisting like a living thing. But with Lena's knowledge and Lyrien's expertise, we were able to navigate its dangers, avoiding the puppeteer's agents and making our way deeper into the heart of the stronghold. And then, suddenly, we were there. The puppeteer's throne room. The room was vast, its walls lined with screens and consoles that hummed with power. The puppeteer himself sat on a throne-like chair, his eyes fixed on us with a malevolent glare. "Welcome, Alex," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "I've been expecting you. You're just in time to witness the birth of a new era." I smiled, a cold, hard smile. "I don't think so," I said, my voice firm. The battle for Aethereia's future had begun, and I was ready to face it head-on. With my team by my side, I charged forward, ready to take down the puppeteer and shatter the chains of oppression that had held Aethereia captive for so long. The outcome was far from certain, but I was ready. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead with my team by my side, and together we would triumph. Previously, we had charged into the puppeteer's throne room, determined to take him down and shatter the chains of oppression that had held Aethereia captive for so long. The puppeteer's malevolent presence still lingered, and his agents were closing in on our position. But we had gained a crucial advantage, with Linus' knowledge of Project Elysium and Lyrien's expertise in bypassing the Enclave's security systems. As I charged forward, my team by my side, the puppeteer's eyes narrowed, and he raised a hand, summoning a wave of dark energy. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I raised my own defenses, channeling the power of Aethereia's resonance field to shield myself and my team. The energy crashed against us, sending sparks flying, but we held firm. Lyrien took advantage of the distraction to launch a cyber attack on the puppeteer's systems, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he worked to disable the stronghold's defenses. Arachne and Elara moved to take down the puppeteer's agents, their movements swift and deadly. Lena stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the puppeteer with a mixture of fear and determination. I pressed forward, my eyes locked on the puppeteer. "It's over," I said, my voice firm. "Your reign of terror ends now." The puppeteer's smile was like a crack in the earth, spreading wide and deep. "You're too late," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "The process is already in motion. Aethereia's resonance field will soon be mine to command." With a wave of his hand, the room began to shake, and the screens and consoles along the walls flickered to life, displaying a countdown timer. I felt a surge of alarm as I realized the true extent of the puppeteer's plan, but I refused to back down. I had come too far, and I had sacrificed too much. I was determined to see Aethereia reborn, to bring hope back to a city that had been plunged into darkness. As the countdown timer ticked down, I knew that we had to act fast. I turned to Lyrien, my eyes locked onto his. "Can you hack into the resonance field systems, disrupt the puppeteer's control?" I asked, my voice urgent. Lyrien nodded, his eyes lighting up with determination. "I'm on it," he said, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Arachne and Elara moved to take down the puppeteer's agents, their movements swift and deadly. Lena stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the puppeteer with a mixture of fear and determination. As the timer ticked down, I could feel the air growing thick with tension. The puppeteer's power was building, and I knew that we were running out of time. And then, just as the timer hit 0, Lyrien cried out in triumph. "I've done it," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "I've disrupted the puppeteer's control over the resonance field." The room shook, and the screens and consoles along the walls flickered and died. The puppeteer's eyes widened in rage, and he summoned a wave of dark energy, hurling it at us with a snarl. But I was ready. I raised my defenses, channeling the power of Aethereia's resonance field to shield myself and my team. The energy crashed against us, sending sparks flying, but we held firm. As the dust settled, I took a step forward, my eyes locked on the puppeteer. "It's over," I said, my voice firm. "Your reign of terror ends now." The puppeteer's face twisted in rage, and he launched himself at me, his hands crackling with dark energy. With a swift motion, I summoned the power of Aethereia's resonance field, channeling it into a blast of energy that sent the puppeteer flying across the room. As he struggled to get to his feet, I stood over him, my eyes blazing with determination. "You're finished," I said, my voice cold. "Your hold on Aethereia is broken." The puppeteer's eyes narrowed, and he sneered at me. "You'll never be able to control the resonance field," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "It's too powerful, too unpredictable." "You'll only succeed in destroying Aethereia." I smiled, a cold, hard smile. "I don't need to control it," I said, my voice firm. "I just need to set it free." With a wave of my hand, I released the resonance field, feeling its power surge through me. The room shook, and the air seemed to vibrate with energy. The puppeteer's eyes widened in horror as he realized that I had succeeded, that Aethereia's resonance field was now free. But as the energy continued to build, I realized that we were not out of danger yet. The puppeteer's plan had set in motion a chain of events that would take time to unravel. The city was still in chaos, and there were those who would seek to take advantage of the power vacuum. As I stood victorious over the puppeteer, I knew that our journey was far from over. Aethereia's rebirth had begun, but it would not be easy. There would be challenges ahead, and we would have to face them head-on. But for now, I allowed myself a moment of triumph. We had done it. We had taken down the puppeteer, and we had set Aethereia free. As the team gathered around me, their faces filled with relief and exhaustion, I knew that we had forged a bond that would last a lifetime. We had faced the impossible, and we had emerged victorious. And as we walked out of the stronghold into the bright sunlight, I knew that Aethereia's future was bright. We had a long road ahead of us, but we were ready. The city was beginning to stir, its residents emerging from their homes and buildings to survey the damage. I saw a glimmer of hope in their eyes, a sense that maybe, just maybe, things would get better. As we made our way through the city, I caught glimpses of the damage that had been done. Buildings lay in ruins, their walls cracked and broken. The streets were littered with debris, and the air was thick with the smell of smoke and ash. But even in the midst of destruction, I saw signs of life. Plants were pushing their way up through the rubble, their green shoots a beacon of hope. The city's residents were coming together, working to rebuild and restore their homes. And I knew that we had played a part in that. We had given them a chance to rebuild, to create a new future. As we walked, I felt a sense of pride and purpose wash over me. We had come a long way, and we had overcome so much. But I knew that this was just the beginning. The real challenge lay ahead, and I was ready to face it head-on. But little did I know, a new threat was emerging on the horizon, one that would test our resolve and push us to the limit. A figure watched us from the shadows, their eyes fixed on me with a calculating gaze. And as we walked away from the stronghold, I felt a sense of unease growing within me. We had won a great victory, but the war was far from over. As we disappeared into the crowd, the figure stepped forward, a smile spreading across their face. The game was far from over. The city was healing, and a new era of peace and prosperity was within reach. But I knew that there would always be those who would seek to challenge us, to test our resolve and our strength. And I was ready. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead with my team by my side, and together we would triumph.